Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. This is DGI-406 and joining me is my co-host Sridhar Chityalaji. Sridharji, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar, good morning and good evening to all of you, wherever you are.
Sridharji, markets in the United States, they are in a bit of a tailspin because of the data they got and the bonds are inching up. Why do you think this sudden reaction now, sir? Isn't low unemployment number a good thing?
Well, I think the low unemployment number in any general normal economic conditions is a very good thing, but not in a climate where the Fed is trying to fight off the inflation in the absence of any kind of fiscal stimulus from the government to address the core issues. So what we now have is the markets are extremely worried. These rate increases is going to continue to increase or move on. And the second is that already the Fed has announced the cutback on the asset purchases programs. So they're going to have a double whammy of rate increase, stopping up the asset purchases, which can only mean that the industry's earnings could be impacted, and we may have unrelated consequences of world being pushed into a recession. This is what is worrying in conjunction with the Credit Suisse results, which has reported a significant amount of losses and relative to last year. And then the bankers making the statement there is still inflation looming in the horizon. This is what has created the uncertainty. The market was up about 300 points and then it tanked by the end of the day, Sriji.
Sridharji, Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State of United States, has said that. Just give me 1 second, sir. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said that China violated 5 continents, the airspace of 5 continents, by putting up their spy balloons. Now, it is very clear that they have put up balloons just about every continent, every place they could. And United States is saying that we still don't know all the things that were there in that spy balloon. We have not recovered everything. See, this is a new way in which spying is taking place. Also, we are being made to believe. But, sir, what has the United States done about shutting down the Chinese police stations in its own backyard? That's another problem, isn't it?
United States, the present regime, has done very little in terms of any type of deterrent actions that would mitigate this type of behavior that you are seeing from the Chinese. Police stations, as you pointed out, still the spy agencies of China operating all around the world. If people may have forgotten, you had even embassies being used, most notably the Houston embassy and the UK embassy. So you had even embassies being used as spying centers. And you remember we talked about the database where they have 3.4 million people implanted as potential agents around in important positions all around the world in strategic areas. We will talk about next week, what Hunter Biden did. But when you look at all these data, and you also look at the rising imports that's happening, the answer to your question is there seems to be very little done rather than a lot of blister that United States is engaged in. I think we
I
covered
think
this
you
in the
meant
last.
bluster, sir. I think you meant bluster.
Bluster. Sorry, bluster.
No worries, sir. The equipment the United States is suspecting that was on the balloon was done by a manufacturer with ties to the Chinese military. Now, the senators of United States Senate are hauling the administration over the coals. They are saying, "Come, tell us what exactly happened." So things are beginning to heat up. It's not just one party; it is bipartisan. In moving forward, what are the implications according to you, sir? Because now, we have seen that just like Elmer was the first one to say it on P Guru's channel, that don't think that this is one balloon. There are several balloons. And this was 5 days ago. So we were again, Sridharji, P Gurus as a channel was one of the first to report that, don't be taken in by one balloon and get all, get to delight that you caught one. There are many up in there. Now, we are also hearing that many Chinese spies slash extremists may have crossed into United States because of this open border policy. Why doesn't George Soros go and sit and look at one of these camps and serve in the food kitchen there, so he understands what the heck he has done, sir?
His objective, sir, that's his strategic vision, to basically open borders, allow all these people to come in, and socialization. His whole goal was, he disrupted using currency and other parts of other types of market tools. He is the advocate of this kind of a concept and policy. So why would he go and do it? He says, okay, come on, all of you come across and enjoy the bounty in this nation. It's not just here; it's all around the world. This issue is going on. So he seems to be hell bent on his own kind of disruptive methods. But let's kind of not deviate from the core issue. The core issue that Sri is pointing out is that now we are beginning to see, between October and December, United States financial year runs from 1st October to 30th September. In this year, there has been significant increase in Chinese national illegally trying to cross the border. It's almost tenfold relative to the all of FY22, which started from October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022. So is this a kind of multifaceted attack that China is doing? Push people, you have people inside. We already know about COVID. We already know about implanted spies. We already know about the spies, the police stations to anybody who is a dissenter to catch and punish. And we have now, it's very official that the spy balloons are going all around the world, and the world seems to be caught unawares.
Sridharji, in the State of the Union address, I don't remember the president mentioning even one of all the different things that you just mentioned, sir. And what exactly is he doing then? See, this is just one side. Now, the other side, what we are also seeing is now the House is grilling the ex-employees of Twitter for their collusion. I wouldn't say, it's proven yet, but, I mean, who am I? Their collusion between the FBI, the government, and the social media companies such as Twitter. I'm hoping that Facebook and YouTube, Google also will face the music next. Everybody is in this one level or the other. Where do you think this is going to end? I mean, one of the Republican congresswomen essentially told how Yoel Roth, the guy who was supposed to be the security chief, shadow banned her. She even told him, these were the categories under which you shadow banned me. Shame on you. I mean, this was the worst kind of insult that I've ever seen to a technocrat by the politicians. But where does this end, do you think?
Well, I think that the damage has been inflicted. Many a times, these types of committee hearings, etc., like all other nations in the world, it's political grandstanding. Whether they would result in any type of recourse remains to be seen. In hardly there's any good record of any kind of enforcement measures, any kind of preventive measures that the government has undertaken, Sriji, in terms of responses by virtue of the committees that you are seeing right now. But on the specific issue of media, there may be a policy coming in. But again, if you have a favorable government which triangulates the law enforcement or the investigative agencies with media companies and with the administration being collaborative, then there is no mechanism that can prevent this type of thing from happening, Sriji.
Now, we are also hearing that the ex-Vice President, Mike Pence, will be asked to testify before the January 6th committee. Sir, just like you said, this is also political grandstanding because so far nothing has come out of it.
Nothing. Is going to be called and is going to be asked the question, did President Trump call you and he asked you to nullify the election? And did he put pressure on you? Did he threaten you? Did he do this? Did he do that? What's Mike Pence going to say? He's a presidential contender, right? So he's a presidential, he's not going to come and say, yes, Mr. Yes, the committee, honorable committee, my honorable president made me say all these things. So therefore you can kind of do the appropriate enforcement. So this is again another type of grandstanding. And by the way, Hunter Biden was asked about his laptop by the same kind of the House committee, and Hunter Biden has said it's none of your business, and I'm not going to give you the documents. So if Hunter Biden can do that, what is Mike Pence going to do, CG?
Well, we are in for more such, head-to-head butting going on between the House and the Senate. Also, that's not started yet, but I expect that to start anytime soon. Now, let's take a look at India. Now, the United States has said that it will not be sanctioning India for its purchase of crude from Russia. Bold move, and it has paid off for India.
Well, I think that they say, I think India has made its case, which is effectively to say, will you shut down Europe? If you shut down Europe, shut me down. Europe is not shut down. So therefore, that's number one. Number two, is a strategic Russia. I'm reliant on all my defense needs. You're telling me China is a threat, and you are telling me to be a partner, and you are telling me that I and Taiwan are partners, whom you are defending against the Chinese incursion. If you cut off everything that I do with Russia, I'm not in a position to defend myself or be a strategic partner. I think they won that argument with the US administration. So the US is saying India is a unique case, is a partner. It is open and transparent in saying the amount of energy it consumes is relatively minuscule within the overall context of what Europe does. So therefore, I think that they have made the wise move rather than politicizing it.
Sridharji, read this puzzle for our viewers. Afghanistan, the government in place today has not been recognized by almost all the countries, including even Pakistan. Yet we are seeing a lot of delegations going there, and Afghanistan, in fact, thanked India for its help, and India has promised continuing cooperation. How can you not recognize a government and still keep on, giving them supply aid? Perhaps now Taliban wants India to come and finish their dams for them, so they can dam the Kabul River, which will give them water. I mean, I'm a little confused. I'm trying to wrap my head around what is going on in the minds of the Taliban leadership, sir.
I think it's the best way to describe Modi's foreign policy is strategic flexibility, is what he has kind of used. I do not want to have a Taliban knocking at my doors, creating problems and creating nuisance. But if I say to this government, let the world recognize, but in terms of the issues that you face, which is you don't have wheat, you don't have water, you have had some floods, you need some help, you want us to provide this help, we will do that as a reciprocal gesture. This is what we are expecting. So it's a transactional relationship, and the fact that he went to the fact that these people are advocating this in a very open manner is also a reflection that they are willing to be sitting and talking with Afghanistan should any kind of issue prop up. They are not caught blindsided.
Well, one thing that the Talibani government can do, and this is something that I am saying, and what they can do is to go back and rehabilitate all the dargahs that they demolished or destroyed. Many people died. Of course, those people cannot be brought back to life. At least show that you respect the Hindus, the Sikhs that you essentially drove away from Afghanistan. Sir, my question is that, Hindus seem to be the one that can take it on the chin, sir. I mean, there is no chin left.
So this is centuries and historical problem. Suffer, 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 but at the same time, be good Samaritan or good Sanatan in terms of showing what you call compassion to your own enemies. This seems to be, whether it will eventually pay off remains to be seen. But as you correctly said, we don't seem to have what you call a carrot and stick approach. We seem to be only giving carrots.
So somewhere people have to get the fear of the Hindu. If they don't get that, Sridharji, I'm telling you, this is slow death. And this has been happening for hundreds of years. We can say we are still 1 billion in number. Bangladesh. you are getting decimated. The thing that you need to look at is how come somebody 1/10 of my size is able to poke their fingers into my eye, and yet I just close my eye and take it. Anyway, that's just my rant. Let's move on, sir. Next question or next topic. Fiji's deputy prime minister has badge for India and says it provides leadership for global South and badge for Indo-Pacific. Fiji is another interesting case where at one point of time the Indians were in a majority, but the native population rebelled. They made sure that Indian population does not get a political representation. I think his name was Maharaj, the last person who was deposed, as a matter of fact. Now you have the Stitiveni, Rabuka, blah, 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 all going on. So this is another colonial plantation colony that the British did. They took the Indian labor from here and had them cultivate sugar for them. Of course, they ditched them and then left back. Why can't the natives understand that this is not the fault of the people who ended up there?
Well, I think that they're probably now realizing it. That's why, it's like in a way, nirvana, waking up. They're saying, look, India is a good partner and India is a strategic. But I think it's also important what the policies the historical Indian governments have done in addressing many of these needs, countries' needs and sensitivities. At least there seems to be an attempt by at least the current administration on a rules-based model, where it's saying if you engage with me, I'll be able to help you. But if you have to respect our people and others who are contributing to your own economic development, there seems to be some kind of a give and take that is going on, which is why these kinds of forums like G20, Global South, BIMSTER, all these types of programs seems to be towards, let me kind of work with you, but I need something back in return. Give something and then take something back in return. So I think the statement from Fiji, which is to say, I endorse India and we need an Indo-Pacific forum. Fiji is a Pacific island, so therefore it makes, I think some of this policy work at least seems to be working. It's not fully realized, but it seems to be working, Fiji.
Saudi Arabia is one of the highest countries one of the countries that has the highest amount of people from India working in their country. Sir, the Indian workforce is viewed as the best in the world because they are apolitical, they put their head down, and they excel at what they do. And I think that realization is seeping in now.
It is. I think first and foremost, as you rightly said, hardworking. Second, they do not violate any rules. And third, they just stick to their core principles. And this is the mantra of the Indian workforce around the world. And I think we played out a video of the U.S. senator from Atlanta playing out as to endorsing how good the Indians are, and you don't see any of these people in criminal camps and depression and hospitals and their lawyers, etc. So you are beginning to see this good image coming out. And again, this is policy and PR work that the government has done. And Saudi Arabia is a very telling because it went through a lot of economic strife. And to say in 22, financial year 22, that the highest number of people were from India who were employed and were given visas is a very positive type of a statement. That's probably also reflected in the remittance numbers that India is seeing, not just purely from the Middle East, but around the world. Like India attracted something close to $100 billion, somewhere between $90 and $100 billion, is a reflection of this workforce, but which is also contributing towards the economic development of India, Shiji.
And someone is correcting me saying that this is not Hindus, but it is Sanatanis. Padma, you're spot on. Sometimes words don't come the way I intended to. We have to always think Sanatani because that is the global umbrella that includes not just Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, and everybody, just about every religion that has taken birth in Bharatvarsha. Let's move on. Thank you so much, Sridharji. Let's move on. The next question next news item that I have is India's trade. India's trade with neighborhood countries has boosted to 41.5 billion. Sir, India doesn't trade with Pakistan. So is this all like Sri Lanka and Bangladesh?
I think you hit the nail on the head, which is namely that it is Sri Lanka, it's Maldives, it's Bhutan, it's Nepal, it's Afghanistan, and what else? Who else I have left out? I think I've covered Maldives as well. So you have what India is saying is, I told you that I would help you, I would work with you, and there you go, which is to say, the persons who are close to me, I have to look after, and their needs have been looked after. And the fact that the focused effort has resulted in a $45 billion, these are small economies, $45 billion trade is a fantastic kind of an outcome.
Now, let's take a look at Europe. Anger spreads across Turkey as death toll crosses 25,000 and complete chaos in relief operations. So, this number is including what has happened in Syria, also, isn't it?
This number seems to be based on it's only Turkey. Syria, the
I
data
see.
is still sketchy. This the Turkish, okay, whatever the Turkish areas which have line of sight. You remember Turkey is also in parts of Syria, right? In
Yes.
parts of Iraq. So the impacted areas, which is under the Turkish oversight, that's the number. The number ranges from 20 to 25,000, but it is very significant by the time the final count is taken. Just reflection of two things. One, Turkey is totally unorganized to deal with a crisis of this magnitude. And second, they have not been responsive. This is where the government is being taken to task. They have not been responsive in addressing the issue that should have been at a war footing.
Well, we wish them all best in trying to save more lives who are trapped under the rubble. Ukraine president makes a strong plea for EU membership while asking for game-changing weaponry help from UK, France, and Germany to fight the war. Sridharji, any thoughts that this will, be resolved in a month or two has now evaporated. We're close to a year now. In 10 days' time, it would have been a year since Russia entered Ukraine. And we talked about this at some length a couple of episodes ago. Getting more weaponry, is that the way to go forward, sir?
Once you have gone into the battlefield and you have chosen battle is your only way out, no negotiations, and go on punishing more and more Russians and put more sanctions, then you have pushed yourself into a corner from which you cannot get out. So Mr. Zelensky is saying, hey, I'm fighting. You told me to fight. You told me to defend. You told me that you will give me aid. You have been giving me weapons, but trickle feeding. But I need fighter aircraft so I can go in and do full battle. I also need what you call the missile, the missile shield, which helps me to tackle not only their planes but other types of air-launched missiles and drones. So there is no end to this because Russia is very much prepared, hunkered down and very much prepared. And so this will go on. When will it end? Well, I have a feeling Ukraine will join EU. Okay, the damage will be far more forthcoming, and it will have consequences to the European economy further. And then eventually, what's going to happen is at some stage when it is too late, these guys are going to sit down and come to a conclusion, solution, Sriji.
Well, Ukraine will probably get split, and the thing will continue because along the border there will always be skirmishes, each trying to take the land of the other. Unfortunate, but that's the reality of life. So next, let's take a look at what's happening in Asia. Philippines and Japan pledged to deepen security and economic ties. Japan says balloons like US were spotted in Kyushu in 2022. The United States, Britain, and Australia carried out joint air drills on Wednesday over the Nevada desert and beyond as part of an effort to simulate high end combat operations against Chinese fighter aircraft and air defenses. See, on the one side, US does all these drills to say that we are getting ready to face China. So far, China hasn't really fought a serious war. I mean, Vietnam they lost as a matter of fact. So probably Vietnam was China's Ukraine, if you want to think of it that way. My question, sir, is that on the one side, United States has been arming now directly, because now the Abrams tanks have gone in, and therefore you cannot even say that we are merely helping Ukraine. How much of this is the arms lobby trying to get rid of old equipment so that they can make new equipment and make even more money from the United States government?
But first and foremost, I think you asked a question which is around. They have not demonstrated thus far uh, any of the deterrence measures or any of their strategic options that they have chosen has worked. So the answer is yes. So why are they doing this? Well, they have to continue because this is three old good Anglo-Saxon powers: United States, Britain, and Australia. Conducting exercises. Is obviously Australia is also not battle hardened, so they're trying to. Remember, we covered this in DGI that there was U.S. general saying that the United States Army right now is not ready, battle ready to have boots on ground because of various reasons. So you're really beginning to see some of these things is more a deterrence measure and people trying to work out potentially in case of any issue. Perhaps this balloon, the balloon is a serious issue both for UK and for United States and for Australia. Okay, we'll come when we come to Japan. We'll discuss the Japanese point. So I think some of these things that are going on is basically behind the scenes effort that the next war is not going to be on boots on ground, but it is going to be up in the air or cyber, and whether they are ready to deal with it.
Thank you, sir. And let's touch upon Japan's agreement with Philippines. So Japan is doing a little bit of shoring up, if you will, to try and make sure that if there are any chinks in the armor, that these are kind of covered. The United States still has to come, long way across the Pacific Ocean to help. What is the latest on Taiwan situation, Sridharji? Any saber rattling by China now, or they are on the defensive, not knowing what they have done in the balloons?
Taiwan is the ADZ. We just because it's a daily affair. That thing is going on. The Taiwanese opposition leader is visiting to come back to. It's very interesting the way under the new Marcos regime. Under the Marcos regime, Philippines has struck a deal with United States to extend the bases besides extending the lease of the current bases. Second, then they have also done a deal with China to have investment coming in for the gas and petroleum just around that Starsbury Scholes area. The third, now you're finding Philippines going to Japan and saying we need to have security and economic ties. I also feel India and Philippines has some strategic kind of a deal within the context of the arm on the defense side. So what Philippines is doing is it is putting itself in various kinds of baskets and saying, I am ready to work with people economically as well militarily to defend myself and my islands. So that is what is going on, and Japan needs to demonstrate that it is not only making its investments in certain locations that are of profit, but it's also making investments in very vulnerable countries such as Philippines.
Thank you very much, Sridharji. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. We'll be back again bright and early on Monday morning to cover more news for you. Breaking news, stuff that comes 2-3 days ahead of MSM. And you always get a head start by watching DGI. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar, and have a wonderful weekend and have a wonderful day, and looking forward to seeing you all on Monday.